All right, all right. Welcome back to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast, the only show where wrestling meets real life. Hot takes fly like chair shots, and we break it in courtside at WrestleMania.
And where we say the things your group chat is too scared to say out loud, think less breaking news and more breaking egos.
We've got a loaded one today. We're going full TKO boardroom meets locker room chaos. We're diving headfirst into Backlash. Who's hot, who's not, and who's getting booked like someone lost a bet.
And it wouldn't be WWE without some drama. So, yeah, we're getting into all the recent releases, but we're not just reacting.
Nah, we're turning this into a full-on free agency season.
Exactly. Think less future endeavors, more where are they signing next and what dream matches could we see?
We're basically Adam Schefter with entrance music, landing spots, and some absolutely reckless fantasy booking.
Then we flip the channel and actually talk about wrestling.
AEW Dynamite, the build to Double or Nothing. We're breaking down what's working, what's cooking, and what feels like it was booked at 2 a.m. after 3 energy drinks.
And we're not stopping there. We're tapping into the independents too.
House of Glory's at the Globe, GCW's one night only, because if you're not watching the indies, you're missing half the story.
So whether you're here for the
Chaos,
or just to hear two people argue about wrestling like it's a full-time job,
which it basically is at this point.
let's ring the bell.
Okay, serious question. How do people let everyone know they're listening to the hottest wrestling podcast in the game?
That's easy. They stop yelling it at strangers in Target and they go to Pro Wrestling Tees.
Boom. See? Growth, maturity, merch?
That's right. The official Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast shirts are live. Fresh designs, soft tees, drip approved.
Perfect for WrestleMania watch parties.
Perfect for AEW, WWE, TNA, and even New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-views.
Perfect for when you're cutting a promo in your living room.
Or when you're reminding your spouse you were right about that heel turn.
I was right.
Debatable.
What's not debatable? You need this shirt.
Head over to Pro Wrestling Tees and grab yours now.
Support the podcast.
Rep the brand
And join the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling family.
All right, we're going to start with Raw. Had a singles match. JD McDonough with Dominic Mysterio defeats Finn Balor in 11 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, they're just continuing this feud. JD and Finn going at it again. You know, they're rehashing everything. And this is WWE creative. Nothing new, nothing fresh. Let's just keep beating the same thing into the ground and wonder why it's not clicking.
Yeah, they just had to change it up from the MFTs and whatnot. Then we had a tag team match. Ethan Page and Rusev defeat Javon Evans and Penta in 10 minutes and 43 seconds. So why are they having Penta?
Javon was fighting Ethan Page previously and involved. So Rusev took out both of them, making his claim for the Intercontinental title, and Ethan Page joined up with him, even though they're all interested in going for the Intercontinental title at the same time.
Why didn't Rusev get fired?
They see value in him, I guess.
I don't know why. It's boring. Then we had a singles match. Joe Hendry picks up the win against Austin Theory with Logan Paul by DQ, the weekly DQ, the nightly DQ, in 3 minutes and 19 seconds.
Yeah, Joe Hendry got a big concert last week as his introduction to Raw, and this week he's continuing his Logan Paul feud by battling his tag team partner, Austin Theory. It would make sense that Hendry finds himself a tag team partner. It'll be interesting to see if they go that route, but it's good to see Joe at least getting a Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't have the wrestling experience in WWE land, he's got the social media presence and his place on the card is pretty solidified.
Yeah. Then we had a singles match. Obafemi defeats Otis with Akira Tozawa and Maxine Dupree in 1 minute and 43 seconds. We could just have a whole segment of why is this person not fired and that person was.
Yeah, I thought they were coming out to sacrifice Maxine to Oba.
God, that would have been awesome.
That would have been pretty funny, but it was actually Tozawa who looked like he was stepping up first, but he got really scared of Oba and Otis checked in. And it was good to see Otis like actually do some stuff and actually be involved in a match. It's a shame it was only 1 minute and 49 seconds, but they're giving Oba the Goldberg treat everybody and, be the man. So, my question to Twitter during this match was, or X, who's going to be the first person to actually like take Oba to a limit and actually push him in a match?
I don't know.
That's the question. I mean, there's a lot of ways it could go on Raw. I mean, it could be someone, like an Ethan Page that he history with, could be the Vision, maybe a returning Bronson Reed, maybe he goes at Logan Paul or Austin Theory.
Yeah.
There's a number of ways it could go, but I'm interested to see who's that first person to push Oba and how does he handle himself on the main roster in an actual back and forth match and not a squash or less than 5 minute match.
Yeah. So we're watching SmackDown, and you know what my thoughts are? Alexa Bliss. It looks like if Charlotte and Rhea had a baby, it would be Alexa, and the three of them were there. Did you ever connect those dots?
No.
Oh, well, now you did. You're welcome. Then we had a six-man tag team match. We had Los Americanos, Hermanos, and the original El Grande Americano pick up the win against Los Americanos in 8 minutes and 35 seconds. Now, what is this leading up to? Is there going to be a mask versus mask match?
Yeah, at the end of the month in AAA, you're going to see the Grande Americanos go against one another, and one of them's getting unmasked. One of the good angles on AAA. It's been a good build. I really wish they would have done this at a PLE or WrestleMania because it's got such heat. And, I fully expect the second El Grande Americano to keep his mask because he's fluent in Spanish and he's become super over in AAA in Mexico because he's fluent.
Yeah.
And the original El Grande American speaks no Spanish.
He's the gringo they originally intended to be the El Grande Americano.
Yeah. This was your normal Raw. I mean, very little wrestling, more advancing the stories for Backlash. You're going to see Roman and, Jacob continue this battle. And, it's their TV is basically just setting up bigger shows.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
So we have our Backlash preview. Right now we've got a singles match with Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker and, of course, Paul Heyman in the corner. Now, this is their first match together since WrestleMania, right? Since Braun speared him?
Yeah, this is their actual first match since kicking Rollins out of the Vision. So Rollins is back. He had the match at Mania with Gunther, but Braun's first one since his big, surgery.
Yeah.
So this should be a really good match. This is the match they've been building towards, and it's a big showcase for Braun Breaker. He's been talking a lot more. He's been featured heavily. We've seen Seth Rollins in main events all over PLEs and WrestleManias. He's been world champ numerous times. On the step up and, see if he's ready for that lead here at any time to bring the Vision back to full strength. But I fully expect Braun to pick up the win here and continue this feud probably for another month or so.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for Baby Steiner. Then we had Asuka versus Io Sky, or we will have Asuka versus Io Sky. They had
No.
no. Well, now they probably are like, oh no, what do we do? Kairi Sane's gone. Now we have to put them together.
Well, they've been building towards this for a while, and the match you're referring to is the Io and Kyrie match that you've seen on
Okay.
Raw. But everyone online says there's a 50-50 shot that Kyrie gets involved in this and they bring her back. We'll see. This should be a really good match. Long history from Japan. They're, former stablemates in Japan. And this should be fantastic if they're given the time. If they're given the time to have a real match, you could really see something special here. Io's one of the best women in the world, but she's been pushed down the card and down the card and down the card. So, this being the only women's match on the show, I hope it gets time. Surprising that they don't have either of the titles on the line here.
Yeah.
But, this is the match they're going with.
And we're gonna have a tag team match: Kit Wilson and The Miz versus somebody and Danhausen. Who are we gonna get?
There's so many rumors. Danhausen's been all over ESPN this week. There's rumors that it could be Stephen A. Smith. There's rumors.
Could you imagine?
Supposedly he's training, and him and Dan been going back and forth. Danhausen's cursed him. He stole his Emmy.
I could not see Stephen A. Smith doing it.
It's gonna happen at some point. Probably, I would imagine it'll happen over the summer once basketball season's done and Stephen A. is a little more free. But I could definitely see, some kind of interaction here. You could see Punk, who's been long friends with Danhausen, be his partner. Maybe someone like Oba would be his partner. I mean, Danhausen is super over. I'm not a Danhausen I'm not a Danhausen fan. People love him.
In house.
With a celebrity route, there's been rumors that it could be Topanga, who's a long supporter of Danhausen, even before the AEW days. It could also be Jelly Roll, who has a history with The Miz and Kit Wilson, and he's already been in matches and been heavily involved. Maybe it's John Cena. Maybe he gets back for one more match. Yeah, we'll get to that here in just a minute. Yeah, it could be anyone. Could be The Rock. If I had to bet, it's probably Jelly Roll or CM Punk. Those would be my picks.
Ones.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna have a United States title match, Trick Williams with Little Yachty versus Sami Zayn. And like Little Yachty, that's hilarious because yachts are not little. So why is he like a mini yacht? We could call him mini yacht.
I mean, he's a pretty big rapper.
I know, but get it? The name?
I get it.
Does it make sense? Okay. Well, I'm not a rapper, so.
This should be a really good match. Tonight, they're having the memorial for the gingerbread man. So
Okay.
there'll probably be some kind of interaction here with Sammy and Trick. I expect Trick to continue on as United States champion.
Memorial's at the. Do you think that's a little bit in poor taste, considering they probably have to do a memorial about Ted Turner?
They gave him a shout out at the beginning of the show,
Okay, so
but
it's
that's it.
so the gingerbread man gets more.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. He didn't. Ted Turner was the competition. He didn't work for
But
WWE.
didn't he help them? I mean, isn't WCW part of the WWE lore though? You, all three of us, ECW, WCW.
They bought it. It's their competition. I was surprised they even did that. But this should be a good match. Trick's been on top. He's been super over, and Sammy definitely looks like he's going to be the bad guy coming out of this feud. And I would expect, Sammy to lose, but end up getting involved in Cody's future here shortly.
WWE World Heavyweight Title match. Roman Reigns is gonna fight Jacob Fatu. Is there any way that Jacob Fatu wins? I doubt it, but is there?
There's a real chance. They recently canceled all of Roman's June Raw appearances, so they could be cutting back on some of his time. So it could just be time off for him, but he could possibly drop the title to Jacob. With TKO, you don't really know how they're going to book things. If they feel Jacob's the man for the future, they could go with him. I don't expect it to happen. I expect them to ride the Roman Reigns train until Obafemi's ready, and then they crown him champion and sacrifice Roman to him. But, this should be a really good match. I'd imagine Roman going all out to help make Jacob a star and, Fatu and know how good he can be in big time matches. So I expect this to get time and, be a 20-minute match and actually, you know, put on a show. Yeah, it should be a really entertaining match. And, I expect most of this PLE to actually be really good as long as they give it time. I mean, it has potential to be a better show than either of the WrestleManias.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna have a lot. WrestleMania did.
It could have a lot of commercials. The first hour's on ESPN, so you'll probably get Rollins and Breaker and the Kit Wilson and Miz match to start on ESPN. So we'll see, but it should be good. John Cena is going to be there. He's got the big announcement that you were talking about. A lot of people are saying it could be a number of different things. Could be something goofy like the WWE club that they're releasing.
Yeah.
It could be Vince McMahon buying the company back. I think it's going to be something stupid like the draft
Yeah.
is happening and they're going to do that. But it should be a good pay per view and should be entertaining.
All right, let's hit this list. The list of people that got let go this week, and where do we think they should go?
Yeah. So, these group of wrestlers, they were either released, not re signed, or asked to be let go. A pretty hefty list here.
Huge.
Yeah.
And surprising a lot. Some of them are very surprising. So first we have Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. I don't care where they go, but what do you think?
I think there's a lot of stigma on Aleister Black. He just re signed with them a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
His exit from AEW, was talked about heavily. I don't know how burnt that bridge is, but from the reaction from talent online, it doesn't seem like he's going to be welcomed back with open arms.
Yeah.
So I think the best spot for him would be in New Japan. I think it would be more of his style. I think he could be a force in New Japan. They need someone to help draw and that has a name, and he would be a good fit there. And in the same regard, Zelina would in a Stardom or even a Marigold in Japan where she could get some ring time and be something different that they don't have on their roster. Especially in Stardom, she could really have some good matches with like Starlight Kid, Saya Kamatani, Suri, Alex Windsor. Those would be good matchups for her. And if Aleister Black wants to get back into AEW, starting in New Japan, good start.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then we have, I mean, basically all of the Wyatts, right? Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross, and Eric Rowan all were released from the company.
Loomis and Joe Gacy as well.
Okay.
So I would like to see most of them end up back in MLW. I definitely think Nikki Cross is going to end up in MLW. Her husband just signed there, so them being the ends. I think Loomis is going to go to TNA. He has the history with Indy Hartwell. They've already started doing vignettes together, prepping his release, so that makes total sense putting them back together.
Yeah.
Gacy and Rowan, Gacy had a big following on the European scene, and I could see him doing, good things in MLW, even a GCW, and just independence would be good for him. So it'll be interesting to see. Rowan, if he's gonna really wrestle that much, when he
Mhm.
was let go the last time, the first show he did was the Brody tribute, and then he went right back to WWE. So I'm not sure how interested he is in long-term wrestling. But the big name is Bo Dallas. Uh, he comes from the storied family, the Rotunda family, the
Yeah.
Wyndham family.
Bray Wyatt's brother.
Yeah. And into wrestling before his brother. And he had a lot of success down in Florida on their developmental league for WWE, but he's only ever been in the WWE machine. So it'll be interesting to see what he really wants to do, if he wants to continue wrestling or if he wants to go a different route. But I think somewhere like MLW, the NWA, even TNA, would be some good matches, some good feuds, even just running the independents.
Yeah.
Cardona did a lot on the independents and made it his own and did really well for himself. And Killer Cross is doing the same thing right now. And Dallas, could go right into feuds with someone like Killer Cross, Richard Holiday,
Yeah.
Effie, people like that, Joey Janela. Those would all be entertaining matchups
CW could be fun.
and he would present something different, but he could also reinvent himself and be a totally different character. So,
Yeah.
a number of different ways that any of these guys could go, but I definitely think the biggest upside is going to be Nikki Cross, Bo Dallas, and Gacy.
Yeah. Then we had Kyrie Sane.
Yeah, I think Kyrie, there's a lot of reports that she just wanted to go back to Japan. I'm not sure how accurate that is. To Japan, they'll always take her back in Stardom. She'll be a huge name and booked right on top right away. I also could see her being very successful in AEW. She could be something completely different. She could be more like how she was in Japan. And I think Tony would book her, as a big time player. And with no Tony Storm, it would make a lot of sense to, bring someone like Kyrie in and she could feud with Tekla. She
Mhm.
could feud with Mina, Sheeta. I mean, the matchups are endless. But she's a big time player, and WWE didn't use her the right way. They didn't book her enough. I felt in big time matches because when she first came to the U.S., she was a big deal. She won the Mae Young Classic. She was an NXT Women's Champion. And then once she got to the main roster, she was just Asuka, and that was really it.
Then we have the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, so when they left TNA the last time, it was basically AEW or WWE, and they chose WWE. TNA's already come out and said that there's always going to be a home for the Motor City Machine Guns in TNA, but everybody fully anticipates them to go to AEW. I don't know how much real value they have on AEW TV. I mean, they would be good for a run and to help get other teams over, but I could see them being more of a Ring of Honor
Yeah.
stalwart and being big on the Ring of Honor scene and giving those shows some names.
Yeah.
But definitely the indies could benefit from having them on there. GCW has booked Alex Shelley before, so that's a possibility. Japan's also a big possibility for them as they've been in New Japan before. So, a lot of options, but I would expect AEW, couple matches with the Young Bucks, FTR, some of the matches you've already seen them do before.
Yeah. Then we had Apollo Crews.
Yeah, so on the Indies, he was known as Uha Nation. So he could go a number of different places. He's another one that I think New Japan would be smart to pick him up and let him run wild and actually showcase what he could do. Same with MLW. They would benefit from having, him on there. He's an instant baby face. He's someone the crowd will get behind. And even CMLL, he's run some shows in AAA. So, he's known in Mexico and his style would fit right in CMLL.
Yeah.
And if they keep this, upward movement that they've had the last year in all these sellouts and the record business, then they should invest in their product and their talent and, try to get a little more global with some more, outside Mexico names
Yeah.
just to bring in some eyes. And the next person fits right into that and is already reported to pretty much be a lock to go to CM,
Yeah.
and that's Santos Escobar. It was reported before that he was likely destined for AEW, but it came out that it was actually CMLL that was very close to signing him.
Yeah.
And, he's, comes from a Mexican wrestling family. So makes a lot of sense for him to be in CMLL. He's injured at the moment. So, maybe him starting a faction could be something. Him in CMLL and working some AEW shows eventually.
Yeah. Then we had Zoe Stark. Now
Yeah.
she it was just feuding, right, with what's her name? The Sunshine one that does the cool move.
No, that's Zarya,
Oops.
not Zoe Stark. Zoe
Sorry.
Stark was just coming back from injury. I could see her in TNA and AEW as far as their in-ring, but TNA, they've been able to, resuscitate some, WWE releases like Xia Li. She's been good there. Xia Brookside as well. Dana Brooke really stepped up her game in TNA. So they could definitely do some work there and she would be an addition.
Fire. Poor Chelsea.
Yeah, the Kylie Ray, who was the first, NXT UK Women's Champion. Now I could see her in AEW.
Yeah.
I could see her doing some damage. Her former tag team partner, Isla Dawn, is there, and she works a lot of Ring of Honor. But yeah, she can go. She's a very talented woman. I could also see her in TNA or, doing a joint thing with Stardom and AEW. I mean, it makes, these other companies to benefit, from all this talent here.
And then we have Andre Chase. Now I don't know who that is.
He was in NXT. He had the Chase U gimmick. You didn't watch a lot of NXT, but he had a good thing going, and they just never pulled the trigger and didn't feel the gimmick would work on, main TV. But I could see someone like TNA. People know who he is. He had a good gimmick and, he wasn't bad as a worker, but he could serve as, secondary person and someone to help get over and maybe, with the right, character development, he turns into something.
Yeah. The next two I'm most excited about is Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. I was completely shocked, but I am so excited to see them take their ball and go somewhere else. Like things like you think they should go to AEW. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I think it's a guarantee that they're going to AEW. It just makes too much sense. They've wanted to work with the Young Bucks for well over a
Mm.
decade.
They would do those Nintendo feuds.
Yeah, just the freedom that AEW would give them to be themselves, to really put on good matches, and their 90 days is going to end right around the end of July.
Yeah.
So it makes total sense. Here comes the New Day in, and what better way to help sell out Wembley Stadium than the New Day versus the Young Bucks for the first time in a tag team match?
Yeah.
That's really going to help draw business and sell some tickets in London. And they're still going to be able to do all the conventions, which they'll be able to rack up on. They're going to
All the other stuff they weren't allowed to do at WWE.
Right. Video game conventions. They're going to be able to do sponsorships, their podcast, all of up, up, down, down. Now, I don't know if WWE owns that or if Xavier owns that, so it'll be interesting, but they'll be able to do stuff, and AEW is not gonna fight them on doing conventions and gaming stuff because they just let Kenny Omega do this giant Street Fighter, and brought him back in time for a pay-per-view, so they're A-okay with that, and they've never gotten to do stuff like that, and to have that freedom, it's gonna invigorate those guys, and especially someone like Kofi, who's only ever been in the WWE machine. Xavier had a run in TNA as Consequences Creed, where he
Uh,
teamed up with Jay Lethal, and, he got to, do the indies a little bit. But Kofi had been in WWE for 20 plus years. So this will be his first foray into, the outside world. And I think they're going to thrive. I think they're going to be a huge addition. I mean, booking them, just look at the tag team division. You could have them and the Young Bucks. You could have them against Jet Speed, them against the Hurt Syndicate, them with the Hurt Syndicate.
yeah,
They could do a number of different things, battling anybody in the Don Callis family, going against Death Riders. Kofi could be in the Continental Tournament. He could be in the Owen Hart tournament eventually, so the opportunities are there. And even Xavier, being able to do some Ring of Honor work as well
yeah,
and do some stuff there. It'll help them draw and it'll give another, shot of life into the business.
yeah. I think Tongaloa and Jeff Cobb being released, I don't know that they necessarily audience, like, I'm still surprised that Tomatongas didn't get let go, or what's Talatonga? Like, I think,
Well, Talatonga's featured heavily. They've got big plans for him.
I mean, because he's friggin' huge.
Exactly, and those guys don't grow on trees, so they're few and far between, and he's a solid worker, and Tama is the best one out of the group. He's got the most charisma, attitude, and his way of doing things is going to be hard in WWE because he's a little bit of a loose cannon. He does what he wants, and that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, but he's super talented and it could click. Tongaloa, I mean, he was the botch king. He messed everything up that he touched. I don't know how invested he is in wrestling long term, so we'll see. He could definitely, get involved with, but Jeff Cobb, he was a really good wrestler and he's like Aleister Black. I don't know how burnt that bridge is with Japan because he was the TV champ at the time when he just abruptly left. He had
Yeah,
just won the title to go to WWE. So I don't know how they feel about that. He did a lot of, spot stuff with AEW, but he's really talented. He's really good. Maybe even some CMLL in there for him, but he could go anywhere and be super talented. I would like to see him back in New Japan because they need an influx of talent to
right.
help them out. But yeah, a lot of big names, and you're probably going to see more. Wouldn't shock me if there's more cuts throughout the year because you just don't know. And if somebody's getting paid big money and they're an older talent and they don't really have long-term plans for them, they could save the money and fill that time with people from NXT that get over or someone on the mid card that may be ready.
Yeah,
So, start asking people to take pay cuts and your executives are getting 20 and $40 million bonuses, but you got to take a pay cut as someone that earns the money to give those bonuses. It's got to be tough. And, some of these contracts were only signed a year ago. Santos Escobar was a few months ago. It was 3, 4 months and he's already gone. So it just shows these people that, leave these companies to run the WWE. I say this all the time. Do you really think if you sign there, you're going to be one of the top guys?
room for growth really is there
Well,
in the WWE.
look at them, the main title picture. There's a lot of people you're going to have to jump if you think you can go there and, be the guy. I said that all along with certain people. Is that person going to be above CM
No,
Punk, above Gunther, above Roman Reigns? Now they're building up Oba. You got to see. And also on the WWE side, some of these guys are getting older. Punk is in his mid 40s. Cody's 40. Roman doesn't want to do this forever, but you're also paying Roman, probably
a lot of money.
probably $10 plus million a year. and, fit to the company, a company that isn't a wrestling company anymore. It's an entertainment company that presents forms of wrestling. So we'll see, but it's going to be interesting. 90 days, so that puts it at the end of July for when you'll start to see some of these people showing up on companies. But it'll be interesting. What might be the wildest free agency class we've seen in a minute?
Seriously, some of these releases feel less like endings and more like the start of a bidding war, and we definitely just booked a few careers better than creative. Just saying.
We're not saying we're right, but if even one of these prediction hits, just know you heard it here first.
Schefter, if you're listening, we're ready. Wrestling insiders, but with
Coming up, we shift gears.
and actually talk some in-ring chaos.
AEW Dynamite, the road to Double or Nothing.
Plus, we check in on the independents because that's where things get really unpredictable.
So don't go anywhere. Coming up, things might get a little unhinged.
Right?
Okay, definitely. Hold up, hold up. Before we start the show, we gotta address something.
Yeah, the fact that you still don't own our merch.
Disrespectful, honestly. You listen every week. You yell at your phone when I'm right.
You mean when you think you're right?
Either way, you're not repping the brand. That's a problem.
Big problem, because the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, main event material.
Soft, comfortable, championship level drip.
Perfect for Raw, perfect for Dynamite, perfect for sitting on the couch judging creative decisions like you book the territory.
And let's be honest, when you walk into a show wearing our logo,
You're basically saying I've got elite taste.
who's your favorite wrestling podcast?
Who runs the hot takes?
Who brings the chaos every week?
Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling. So stop playing.
Search Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Grab the shirt
Join the movement.
and look better than Mr. Wrestling while you're at it.
Okay, wow. We're ending strong.
We are ending strong in our merch.
All right, welcome back to Part Wrestling Podcast, where we stop pretending to be executives
And start acting like the fans who would absolutely book a show at 2 a.m. and stand by it the next morning.
Now we shift gears to AEW Dynamite, and the build to Double or Nothing is getting closer.
And all the moments that have us saying, okay, that was fire.
Or who approved that?
We're breaking it all down, what's clicking, what's chaotic, and what feels like it's one segment away from going completely off the rails.
And because wrestling doesn't stop on TV.
Not even close. We're hitting the independents, House of Glory's at the Globe, GCW's One Night Only.
Where half the time you don't know what's going to happen, and that's exactly why it works.
Ring the bell. Right, we had AEW Dynamite. We had the AEW Continental Title Eliminator match. Jon Moxley defeats Juice 15 minutes and 31 seconds. How'd you feel about it?
I enjoyed this match. I have always enjoyed these two. They've had a good rivalry dating back to New Japan when Moxley first left WWE and came to Japan. What I really enjoy about these Continental matches is how it doesn't allow managers or seconds from your crew or faction. No, it makes it feel more sport-like.
Yeah.
You just get, a solid 10 to 20 minutes of wrestling. And that's what we got to see. It was a great showcase for Juice Robinson. And John Moxley continues to be the ace of AEW.
Good to have the old Juice back. So what you're saying is you're not upset that it wasn't a DQ or
Yeah,
interference?
that's the great thing about AEW. You actually get wrestling.
Then we had the AEW World Tag Team Title / AEW World Trio Title #1 Contendership Double Jeopardy match.
So in this match, if Orange Cassidy won, then the conglomeration will get a future tag team title shot. If Dax Hardwood wins, then FTR and Ciampa would get a trios title match.
Orange Cassidy did pick up the win in this match. It was 12 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah, so all the bad guys came out. So you had FTR with Ciampa and Stokely. Then Clark Connors and Finley came out, and then RPG Vice came out. So Orange Cassidy looked outnumbered, but he had his partners, O'Reilly and Strong, with him. And then out came the Young Bucks and Cope and Cage. So, I think this would have been better if it was like a 7-on-7 tag team elimination match, like a Survivor Series style match.
Yeah.
I think it would have been something different to see and something fun, but it was an okay match. Nothing really to write home about, but solid wrestling.
Yeah.
Both guys tried hard.
Then we had the AEW International Title match. Zuko caught with Lance Archer picks up the win against Brian Keith in 10 minutes and 17 seconds.
Yeah, great showcase for Brian Keith. It was a solid match. Again, just like the previous match, nothing special. But what was special was the challenge that was made after the match. So Okada challenged Darby next Wednesday for the world title. And it was announced later in the evening that Tony Khan signed off on it back at the AEW world title. And we're going to get to see big match Okada. Hopefully, we get, 20 plus minutes to really get Okada into it. And if we get New Japan Okada for this match, it could be one of Darby's best showings here.
Yeah. Also, he doesn't have to like almost kill himself. Like it could be just a great match where he doesn't do something stupid. I'd like that.
And you could have said the same thing about years ago.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think anybody cared as much about safety and personal well-being back then, including the fans.
Yeah, they cared, but, Darby's going to be Darby. Darby has one speed, and that's balls to the wall.
Then we had a tag team match. Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander defeat Harley Cameron and Mina Shirakawa in 12 minutes and 44 seconds. Now, is this the Dynamite her shirt off in the promo or whatever? Oh my God. I'm telling you, I love Harley Cameron. I like her more than Mina.
Yeah, I mean, the promo before was hilarious, and there was a huge talking point about it on social media today.
Two huge talking points.
Well, everybody was talking about, oh my gosh, they showed Harley in her bra, and Harley came out and said that she pretty much wrestles in a bra every week.
Right. Wrestler.
Yeah, but it's like the thing I used to tell you, seeing wrestlers in trunks is totally different than seeing wrestlers in their underwear.
To me,
Yeah, but I mean, it just looks different. It's just like, oh my goodness, it's like a peek behind the curtain. But I really enjoyed the promo. I thought it was great. I really think Harley has really grown and developed over the last year. I did not know the pairing of Mina and Harley was the team I needed to see. They worked well together. It was fun. I'd like to see more of them together. I
yeah.
thought it was really entertaining and would like to see them continue as a team. Harley makes sense in tag team wrestling because she's not on the solo level yet to really like handle a big time match. But as a tag team wrestler, she can let her charisma and, her skills really shine. And her and Mina are just perfect together. Now, Sheeta and Stat, they definitely seem like they're turning heel. I don't know how well it fits, but we'll see. I could see Stat seeming like she was going to turn heel and go into a feud with Sheeta. Sheeta going heel makes sense to give her character something new, something fresh.
Yeah.
It's like a paint job, makes her seem a little bit different and, different types of matches for her.
She's kind of lost her luster for me. Like when she was first, I mean, when she was first with the company way back when, she was way more exciting. And now that she's back, I'm not as into her. But I think it's just there's been too much time.
Yeah, she, unfortunately, she has to come and go. The issues happen, especially, coming from Japan and the world we live in today. But, it's just the nature of the beast. But, hopefully that's behind her and she can start to get a little bit of momentum behind her.
The AEW World Title match. Darby Allin picks up the win against Kevin Knight in 15 minutes and 32 seconds. What do you think about this match?
This was another great match who is just delivering every single week in big matches. Darby might not be destined to be champ for a long time, but he's going to be a memorable champ. He's not pulling a Roman Reigns and wrestling once a quarter or once a month. This is every week, sometimes twice a week. He's wrestling again on Saturday against Pac. So Darby's getting his run as champ. He's putting a whole run into what's probably going to be like a 1 month title hold. But this was everything you expected it to be. It shows Kevin Knight's ready for the big stage and can be that guy. He didn't lose anything in, taking the loss in this match. If anything, I think it's going to help his TNT title reign be more impactful and, be a stronger champion. And I'd expect a Kevin Knight heel turn.
Moving on to Collision, we had a singles match. Mike Bailey defeats AR Fox in 7 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, so this was a 3-hour block that they had on TBS. So the first 2 hours were Dynamite, and the 3rd hour was the first hour of Collision. On Saturday, you'll see Collision again. It's just for the 1 hour, but you'll see that Darby and Pac match as well as, Double D's there in action. So a lot of big things coming up. But the Mike Bailey AR Fox match was a really good match. Speedball shows why he's exactly, one of the top wrestlers in the world. He's always putting on great matches, and no matter what promotion or opponent he's in the ring with, he looks great. We're going to talk about Speedball a little bit later on our independent tour, but it was nice to see AR Fox in starting off Collision. He's a big time veteran that knows how to have entertaining matches. Been working a lot of Ring of Honor, and these type of matches are the perfect spot for him to help get other guys over.
Then we had a singles match. Jamie Hayter defeats Sky Blue in 9 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. It seems like we're going to be getting Jamie and Tekla again at Double or Nothing. I really think Sky by the end of the year, whether it's a singles run with a Ring of Honor title or, maybe picking up the TBS title or even as tag team champion with Julia. I think she's ready for a bigger role, especially with the success we're seeing with Tekla as the AEW Women's Champion. So far, we're almost, 6 months into the wrestling calendar year. And I think Tekla has been the best women's in the world this year. She's really stepped up her game. She's had great matches. Her promos have been on point. Even her work WrestleMania, week, just making that run in at Stardom was really entertaining. And it continues her feud. And I really hope we get to see a Tekla Saya Kamatani match at some point this year, whether it's in Stardom or at Forbidden Door next month.
Yeah. Then we had a singles match, a quick one. Roosh defeats Manilow in 45 seconds.
Yeah, it seems like they're building Roosh up for something. I'm not sure what that would be because right now the world title picture is really crowded. So maybe he could be going for the TNT title or the Continental title. But they're definitely making him look like a star, and as long as he can stay healthy, they're gonna push him. I mean, he's super talented. I'd love to see him and his brother get back together and do some work together.
Friday.
Yep,
She asked if she can land.
almost done.
Then we had a tag team match. The Bang Bang Gang and the Young Bucks pick up the win against the Death Riders. So in this case, it was Claudio Castagnoli, Garcia, and Wheeler Yuta. And they were joined by the Dogs with Marina Shafir in 14 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah, so we got to see the return of Colton Gunn. So we almost have the Bang Bang Gang at full force. All we're missing is the switch, which, it seems like he teases every big show to return. So it'll be exciting to see when he actually returns. But just another 8-man tag match. Definitely seemed better suited for earlier in the show. But still, nice way to send people home with the Young Bucks coming out. They always get a good pop. Yeah, I would have been more excited if it was just the full Gun Club with Jay White.
Yeah.
Would have made more sense, and it would have been a huge way to end the show. But decent way to end the show. It was a good 3-hour block of wrestling. I felt like the last 30 minutes were really pushing it. AEW's better for the 2-hour blocks. I think when they can fill it with wrestling. It's just an easy watch, but once you get into 3 hours, then it starts to get a little tougher.
The 2 hours feels very short because it is so good every week and it leaves you wanting more versus like 2 hours of WWE. You're like, wow, I watched 3 commercials and saw 5 seconds of wrestling and it took all night. Then we had the House of Glory show called Glory at the Globe.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to start off is I really like their ring announcer, Sam Laterna. Really good voice and presence, and I could definitely see someone like WWE looking at her. She gives me Melissa Santos vibes from Lucha Underground
Oh, I loved her.
with her energy. And WWE could really use some help in their ring announcing. So wouldn't shock me if they take a strong look at her in the future.
Yeah. So we had a singles match. Speedball Mike Bailey picks Blazing Red in 16 minutes and 38 seconds. What a big win for Speedball to open the show.
Yeah, it was a huge win for Speedball. Like we mentioned earlier, it shows that he's really looked at as a top guy. They always say in wrestling, you either want to open the show or close the show. And the crowd was hot for this. And I feel his run in AEW has really elevated him. And there was a great back and forth in this dream match. Speedball hit a really nice shooting star for two that Red was able to kick out of. Amazing Red. He's been around for 20 plus years and, you know, he's very well known in the IWC, and he can work with anyone. And it's great to see him have these showcase matches. And it doesn't have to be good guy versus bad guy. It can just be, and a showcase match. And I'm glad that Red's getting to have these. And you should definitely go out of your way to watch this match. This was the best match of the night.
Then we had a tag team match, 5150, which is Danny Limelight and Slice Boogie pick up the win against the main event. So Jay Lyon and Midas Black. This was 14 minutes and 53. And we had Rick Martel in this match.
Oh, Rick Martel.
So not the Rick Martel.
No.
And we had a Rick Martel in this match.
Yeah, Midas Black turned on Jay Lyon. These guys, they're former two-time House of Glory tag team champions, so very well known in this promotion. So I'd expect a feud between these two moving forward. In previous shows, you kind of saw the split coming, and it full week.
Then we had a singles match. Thunder Rosa picks up the win against Brittany Brooks in 12 minutes and 44 seconds.
Yeah, this was Thunder's first match in House of Glory, and I really enjoyed this match. I'm pretty high on Brittany Brooks. She's been all over. She's been in NXT, AEW. She worked our former favorite indie promotion, Blitzkrieg. She's been all over. I feel she could evolve into a Sky Blue type if given the opportunity. So definitely keep your eyes on Brittany Brooks in the future. It's great to see Thunder Rosa working and having good matches. She worked a lot during WrestleMania week and continuing to work on the indies and get back out there and just get that ring time.
Then we had a six-way scramble match. Joe Alonzo defeats JJ Doe's Giovannici. Joe Alonzo defeats JJ Doe's Giovannici, Onyx Amaji, and Payne with Dr. Hilary P. Wisdom and Fumi Nakuda.
Yeah, so the big name in this match is Joe Alonzo, who's been, doing a lot of good stuff on social media and getting himself over. If you watch the independents, I would keep an eye on him on the next 6 to 9 months. If he can get some higher profile bookings, pick up some wins, and just continue to develop his skills, I really think he could be one of your next breakout stars on the independent scene.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on him.
Then we had the House of Glory Cruiserweight title match. Darren Richardson defeats Raymond Bright in 11 minutes and 40 seconds. So you didn't like this match?
Yeah, it didn't do it for me. The crowd also wasn't too into it. The wrestling was good, but there wasn't the connection there for me. Maybe, it was too long of an intermission and then going to this match, but it just feels like it didn't click here.
Then there was the House of Glory Crown Jewel title match. Illa Fatu defeats Lance Anoa'i in 16 minutes and 4 seconds.
So yeah, we had another bloodline battle on the independent. Son of Umaga versus the son of Samu, one of the head shrinkers. Zilla to me is another Jacob, but not mature enough and with more baggage. Even still, I think he would be perfect for NXT. And I think sitting under that HBK learning tree and getting into the machine would really help him, make him, do things the right way. At least Lance was coming off an NXT run where he wasn't used on TV, but he should be able to get consistent good booking spots if that's what he wants. The crowd felt flat on this one as well. I just think maybe that intermission was a little too long. I expected more out of this match considering the build. The end of the match where we got the midair spike from Zilla for the win was the first came alive in this
Yeah.
match, and it seemed to wake them up. I expected more out of this, but, it was a decent showing.
Then we had the House of Glory heavyweight title match. Charles Mason defeats Jonathan Gresham in 27 minutes and 27 seconds.
Yeah, they gave this time, and it was a technical spectacle. Gresham showed the pace, and he laid a ton of hard strikes, and and he took it all in, and he let Gresham really lead this match here, and Gresham really worked the crowd. He got them involved in the match. That was the one thing that, really changed the tide of this event and this main event. So, he was the veteran here and knew he had to get the crowd involved. We had a ref bump and a low blow that led to a close 2 count. But I really thought this was Gresham has looked since returning to wrestling from his stroke. It was a huge win for Mason, who I think should be on the NXT and TNA radar. He's been working, a lot of, GCW and House of Glory.
Yeah.
He's been doing a lot of independents like Blitzkrieg, so I could definitely see him getting a look there. But this was a really good match, second best match on the card. So I really liked the first match and the last match the most here. If Gresham is going to get back to this type of level, he's definitely going to be on everybody's radar because this was an awesome match.
Awesome. Then we had the GCW one night only in the ECW arena. So we had the GCW Ultraviolent title DLC six-way match. Matt Tremont, my guy, picks up the win against John Wayne Murdoch, Little Sicko, Nino Extremo, Reed Bentley, 13 minutes and 27 seconds. Was this bloody?
Yeah, of course it was.
Matt Tremont,
Yeah.
Blood's his middle name.
So the DLC instead of a TLC, because they don't use tables,
Doors, ladders, and chairs.
you got it. This was a wild brawl, and Matt Tremont, he was meant for the ECW arena. It was a great way to set the tone for the show, and everybody loves Tremont. He did his normal. He has to leave, get bandaged up back, a bloody mess, and picks up the win in this ladder match.
Gabby Forza defeats. Then we had a singles match. Gabby Forza defeats Tony Deppen in 7 minutes and 55 seconds.
Yeah, this was Tony Deppen's first match back in some time. He also posted on Twitter that he got fired from his job for using his PTO to go back to wrestling. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of Tony Deppen. So you'll see him on GCW and probably some indies. She's building a following. She's getting more opportunities. She is dating Bear Bronson. Spot of her over WrestleMania weekend, and I could definitely see TNA taking an interest in Gabby.
Then we had an 8-man tag team match. B-Boy, Greg Excellent, Webb, and Ruckus with Robbie Moreno versus Jimmy Lloyd, The Underwood, Ryan O'Neal, and Terry Aki. It was a no contest, 10 minutes and 30 seconds. It's awesome to see Junie Underwood. He's like the nicest guy. Whenever we went to a show at 814 Wrestling, he like totally just offered the kids autographed pictures and took pictures with them and stuff. Like he's just a super, super nice guy. And so it really is cool to see somebody that's, Johnstown.
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of showcase matches in GCW, him and Ryan O'Neal as a tag team. So I'd expect more development and more opportunities for Junie and Ryan.
Then we had a singles match, one called Manders defeats Christian Napier with Otis Kogar in 2 minutes and 58 seconds. So Manders has an upcoming title shot.
Yeah, he won the Reach for the Brass Ring ladder match over WrestleMania week. So he called his shot on May 17th at the Valair Ballroom in be Atticus Kogar versus Manders for the GCW World title. Manders went to the University of Iowa, his college roommate, George Kittle.
Our guy.
Yep. So I would expect George to be in attendance that night, who also played tight end and went to Iowa. So, I think we're going to see a new world champion there, and we'll start to see the reign of Manders.
Singles match. Gringo Loco defeats Vengador in 14 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, this was a solid match. They stopped in the middle of the match for a little comedy spot, and Gringo seems to be, moving to heavyweight. So he might need to change that presentation a little bit. He's not as slim and trim as he used to be. Nothing wrong with that, but
Come thick and juicy. Then we had a Orso picks up the win against Ricky Morton in 5 minutes and 6 seconds. Be Ricky Morton.
Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton, still going strong. It was a fun, quick match. I'm a huge KJ Orso fan. If you follow us on X, I'm always tweeting. I think he should be world champ at some point this year. He's really gotten over in GC heel there, and I could definitely see him going for the world title at some point.
Yeah. He always pops up on my Facebook stories, and I always am confused if he's a local wrestler or not because I follow a ton of our local wrestlers here, and and then I'm always like, "Oh, he's on our pod, so he must be on TV."
Yeah, he used to be in AEW as Fuego del Sol.
Then we had a singles defeats Joey Janela in 16 minutes and 32 seconds. Another big loss for Joey.
Yeah, ever since WrestleMania, Joey's just been having a hard time. You know, he lost to -1, Brody Lee Jr., and now he's taking another loss to Viperous. So, you know, we could be looking at an unraveling for the bad boy, Joey Janela, you know, which could eventually lead to the redemption of the bad boy, Joey
Yeah.
Janela. So, you know, something to keep an eye on. But, you know, Joey's been doing great things in GCW, and I continue to expect to see great things from Joey in GCW.
Then we had the GCW World Title match. Kiss Kogar defeats Marcus Mathers in 25 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many more CW we'll see of Mathers, as he should be looked at in the Evolve and NXT picture. He's super talented, but he really has that WWE look, and I think he has a very bright future and could be something special. Kogar is perfect for GCW and the Indies. I would expect his title run to end against Manders, like we were talking about. One thing I will say about this match is Mathers was bleeding like throughout this match. He was bleeding so much, the kids even looked up when I was watching it
Mm-hmm.
and go, wow, that guy's bleeding.
Then we had a death match. Nick Cage with Dewey Donovan defeats Bear Bronson in 19 minutes and 12 seconds. They had a lot of long matches on this. This was a long show.
Yeah, they really went out for being in the ECW arena, and this was the best Nick Gage has looked in a long time. He looks healthy, moving well, and Bear Bronson gave everything to Nick. Bleeding all over the place. He took the big barbed wire spots. It was a nice way to send the crowd home happy. You know, everybody loves the Nick Gage entrance, and Bear Bronson's, you know, becoming a deathmatch guy, and, you know, one half of the TNA Tag Team Champions with Brian Myers in the system.
Yeah.
But all in all, it was a really good GCW match. GCW's been so definitely check them out. You can find them on Triller TV, and GCW's pretty awesome. All right, that's gonna do it. AEW and W. All right, that's gonna do it from AEW and the Double or Nothing on the horizon to the Indies. You know, doing what they do best, controlled chaos.
And honestly, that's why we love it. From Dynamite to House of Glory to GCW, there's always some attention.
We covered a lot today. WWE in part one, AEW in the Indies here in part two.
And somehow we managed to be right, wrong, and completely unhinged all at the same time.
That's the brand.
If you made it this far, we appreciate you. Make sure you're following, subscribing, doing all the things so you don't miss the next episode.
And jump in the conversation too. Hit us up. Tell us what we got right.
Or what we were completely off the rails about.
Either way, we're talking.
We'll be back next week breaking it all down like only we can. Until then, keep the takes hot and the arguments hotter. We'll catch you next time.
Tune in to Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling, where Steve and Mare bring you all the wrestling news, all the wrestling fun and gossip.
You're listening to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast.
Whether it's good or bad, or people you know or people you don't, Mr. and Mrs. Pro Wrestling is where you need to be.
The Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast, where they're going to give you everything you need to know. They're going to hit you with the scoops. They're going to fill you in on everything pro wrestling, which includes
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Steve and Mare, Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling.